week's episode of One Piece, the Kingdom of Dressrosa has officially become a war zone. Giant Attack on Titan-styled nutcrackers, Zoro versus Pika, the Tontada tribe revolting against the Smile Factory, and Senor Pink and Franky constantly suplexing each other. This week's episode was action-packed, and I'm okay with that. The bulk of this week's episode is dedicated to the Tontada tribe as they're desperately trying to escape from the Smile Factory, and they're defeating all of Doflamingo's goons with swift justice, and with spoons and forks. And that's pretty freaking impressive. The Tontada tribe is also going to have to battle against Queen, who is this very large, spacious woman who's dressed as a luchador and has a big vacuum cleaner, and she's using that to suck up all the different members of the Tontada tribe. This is all a big lead up to Franky, who actually managed to escape from Senor Pink in one of the weirdest ways possible. He tells him that he saw an old lady who was in trouble in this alley, and Senor Pink decided to go and help her. I don't know what the deal with Senor Pink is, but it's pretty damn strange. This gives Franky an opportunity to go in, open up the doors to the Smile Factory, and looking like the big superhero that he is. But without a doubt, the best part of the episode to me is Zoro versus Pika. That's the real reason to check out this episode. Their battle is intense. They have a little bit of sword, hand-to-hand combat, and then you get some scenes where Pika is actually assimilating with the rock and stretching around and having these big giant stone tentacles trying to crush Zoro. And then things get even more tense when Nico Robin, Rebecca, and Bartolomeo show up because they're trying to make their way over the giant freaking Pika body, but they need some help from Zoro, otherwise Pika's going to attack them with his big giant fist. And now Zoro is starting to realize actually how his powers work when he actually assimilates into the rock. That's like the perfect opportunity to attack, and that's when he hits him with this amazingly big technique which completely removes the entire side of the giant stone Pika. This is one of the most devastatingly powerful techniques that we've seen from Zoro in the series thus far, and he hasn't even gotten started yet. This was a really great scene and a great display of why Zoro is, without a doubt, the most badass character in all of One Piece. I know there's going to be a lot of contenders, people are going to say I'm wrong, but I still think Zoro is without a doubt the hardest mother in all of One Piece. And then, of course, there's all the stuff with Luffy at the beginning of this week's episode with him and Cavendish and Kyros and Law trying to run away from these giant nutcrackers, which, to me, anyway, come across as like this sort of subtle homage to Attack on Titan. Just the way the giant nutcrackers move, especially that one that's crawling on the ground, it just reminded me of Attack on Titan, just the way they actually animate those creatures. If it's not a coincidence, it's still pretty awesome. I like it. I like the way they're animated, and I can't wait to see what other sort of trouble they're going to run into. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of One Piece? I thought this was a pretty good one, a very simple episode, but sometimes simple is good. This week's episode was dominated by action. Nearly every single scene offered it. It opened up with the crazy nutcrackers who are really creepy looking, and like I said, the way they animate them, how they sort of slowly stumble like zombies, and then suddenly rush towards them like mad dogs. It's really insane. Zoro versus Pika, awesome. I love every single thing about their battle. It's just really intense, just very different characters going at each other with crazy powers, and of course Zoro's just awesome. He's loving every single second of this battle, even though it seemed kind of like a pain to actually have to help out Nico Robin and them. It was really cool to actually get to see him pull out this technique, which honestly he needed an excuse to test it out anyway, and at least we got to check it out, because it looked freaking awesome. Everything else though, all the stuff with the Tontada, it's okay. Basically just a lot of running around, them just smacking dudes in the face. There's that one old dude by the name of Moji who's constantly looking for Princess Mancherry, but it's basically just a one-note joke of him just running around and crashing into things. Otherwise, this was still a pretty good episode. There was a lot of entertainment value from this one. Lots of action scenes, lots of laughs, and lots of badassery. This was a pretty classic episode of One Piece, and I liked it a lot. It wasn't the perfect episode, but it's still one that I think is definitely worth checking out if you're a big fan of action anime, if you're a fan of One Piece anime, or the One Piece manga. So I'm going to give this week's episode a 3 out of 5. A very fun, average episode of One Piece that you should definitely check out if you're a fan of the series. So I like this episode a lot, mostly for the Zoro Pika stuff, but what about you guys? Did you like this week's episode? Did you have a favorite action scene, a favorite moment, favorite funny moment? What do you want to see from the rest of the Dressrosa arc? Please tell me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching my review. Make sure to like it and share it with all of your friends, and make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow us on social media. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.